Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are giving you the first part of our Week 15 fantasy football starts and sits. We're here to help you make all the right decisions in your semifinal round. That's right. You've got to make it right so that you get into that championship. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. That is Kyle. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. And today we are giving you our first part of our Start Sit questions for Week 15 for Saturday and Sunday games. Yes, that is right. Welcome back, Saturday NFL games. There's going to be two to be exact. We're going to hit those first, but you definitely want to check out our waiver wire episode and our top starts streamers and fades episode that we dropped yesterday. I've drank since then, but you definitely want to click that in the corner up above where Kyle points and also down in the description below. Kyle, what you got before we get going?
Yeah. All right, guys. So hit that subscribe button as well as the bell. That way you're notified every time we upload the podcast. We're going to be here all off season. We're going to try to see what we can do to keep the pace up during the off season. We don't know. We should probably at least still have 3 episodes a day.
A day or a week?
I'm sorry, a day. Yeah, a week.
I'm out.
Yeah. See ya. It's a little aggressive there. Yeah. So we'll see what we can do about that. But once the season gets a little bit closer during the summer, then we will get back to our 5-episode weeks. Not days, but 5-episode weeks, like we've been doing the whole season long for you. I'm just coming to realize there's not a whole lot of people doing 5 episodes a week. Like there's really actually not. So it's interesting. So one thing that I'm actually interested in seeing is some of these teams, these rosters that made it into the semifinals from you guys. So if you made it into the semifinals or you made it into the playoffs or you're heading towards that championship or whatever it is, go ahead and drop your roster down below. I want to see what everybody kind of had, where they were, and what's going on with that. Let's do that. And so we're also willing to answer any start sit questions that you have because we're always asking. Do you need assistance? That's right. We're always asking if you need assistance. So feel free to ask those questions. We're always helping. We steered somebody towards Justin Herbert. We think that that's probably paid off for them. All right, so let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end of these start-sit matchups, and let's hit these Saturday games first, Justin. Saturday. Up first, we have Buffalo at Denver. I'll take Buffalo. Josh Allen, hey, it's a decent start, actually, but he's likely to have a little bit of trouble. There are injuries in the secondary for Denver to kind of salvage Allen's value, in my opinion. So it's not the best matchup, but based on the injuries that Denver is facing in their secondary, I think actually it ups Allen's value back to a normal level. I would have normally said it's a 2 QB super flex situation just because I think that he's going to struggle a little bit. But with that secondary opening up, I think it's going to be better for him. The running game, I'm avoiding. Stephon Diggs, start your studs, guys. He's been a stud. There's no denying it. He's a top 3 wide receiver this year, probably. And he's kept it going. Keenan Allen kind of fell off the pace a little bit. John Brown, not a start, but he's been designated for return, so keep an eye on that one. He could be practicing, could start anytime in the next 3 weeks. Gabriel Davis, if Brown's out, I think he's a roll of the dice that you could take. Cole Beasley, PPR king. He's a friggin' monster in PPR. So that's why I don't like PPR. That's just why I don't like PPR is that guys like Cole Beasley are a top 10 play. And that to me is crazy. That's not realistic. That's not normal. I like fantasy football in a lot of ways to try to mimic the scoring opportunities in football. And for me, having Cole Beasley be a top 10 play most weeks is just not realistic. So
you're not a big high motor guy when it comes to PPR, I guess.
No.
Right.
I don't have any shares of Scotty Miller either.
They're both deceptively fast, Kyle.
They are deceptively fast. For all I know, either one or both could be coaches' sons. It's like having another coach on the field. Could have played quarterback in college. I don't know. We're all the terrible Booth cliches, right? That are just code. All right, what do you have going for Denver?
All right, for Denver, let's go ahead and have Drew Lock as a 2 QB or super flex start only in this matchup. When it comes to the running back room, I do have Melvin Gordon as a start, but he's just kind of a middle of the road running back too. And this all has to do with Philip Lindsay. He's just not playing as much, and he's been banged up all year long.
Melvin Gordon, I'm seeing getting dropped a lot. He's got his DUI hearing on Monday, I think. So
yes, so I think you might be able to get him
one last start.
One last start, and we'll see what happens by the end of this next week. When it comes to wide receivers, if you do need to start one in this on this team, Tim Patrick, he would be more of a low-end wide receiver 3. Patrick's a guy, I mean, some people are going out there trying to pick up KJ Hamler. I just think he's a sit. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Yes, I think that was on 2 catches. So it's hard to replicate something like that. And Noah Fant, man, if you're still in the playoffs and you had Noah Fant, you're still going to start him. But man, he played 1 series and then he had to go, Lamar Jackson it for a little while, and then he stayed out for the whole game.
Yeah,
but that's all I got for Broncos, man.
No interest in starting Jerry Jeudy.
No interest in Jerry Jeudy, man. If you look at the numbers, dude, it's just so far outside of top, wide receiver.
They've got to get a QB. I mean, that's the whole reason that we were down on Sutton to before the year started. I mean, admittedly, he got injured, right? And so that's not a concern or consideration at that point.
Right.
I'm not going to take any victory laps on that. But we were down on this offense in general just because they don't have a QB. They don't have anything worth really focusing in on, in my opinion. All right, let's move on here to Carolina against... That's right, Green Bay. So what do you have? Who do you have starting for Carolina other than Christian McCaffrey, who's not playing?
Yeah. Teddy B, just once again, a 2 QB or super flex play only. You might hear me say this a couple times. You're not going to put him in your super flex. If you're going to start him, you're going to put him in that quarterback starter spot and then have your next quarterback down there in the super flex. But other than that, CMC, it's doubtful. He's not going to play. So that means fire up Mike Davis again. So he's been pretty decent for you. He was decent for you last week. And then when it comes to wide receivers, I think they're going to have all 3 of them back. I know Robbie Anderson played last week, but DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel did not. I think 2 of the 3 wide receivers will hit this week. It's just figuring out which one. And it's all about who is Jair Alexander going to cover. And it's basically the other person. So I have my money on DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel being the best of the 3.
Yeah. I do want to throw a word of caution out there about Mike Davis. Not because it's Mike Davis, but because the Packers' run defense actually
it's starting to get a little better.
They gave up 51 rushing yards last week to the Lions, who have 3 viable running backs. They gave up 51 rushing yards. So
it's a broken offense, though, too. But
I get what
you're saying.
But but you're going to tell me that this one without Christian McCaffrey isn't a little bit broken, just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's a super flex start, right? He's a start no matter what. He's a stud. He's 1 touchdown away from 40 this year in passing touchdowns, putting up numbers against everybody except for Tampa Bay. So fire him up. Aaron Jones is a start. This is actually a really good matchup. Carolina is allowing the 9th most points to the running back position in fantasy football, which means that I'm also going to be willing to flex Jamal Williams. He's getting a little bit more attention right now because they're trying to lift a little bit of the burden off of Aaron Jones. He came back from that injury, started getting in the groove a little bit again, and then they've kind of backed down his carries. I think that they're trying to preserve him because they know that they're in the playoffs, and so they want to hold on to that health a little bit. Devontae Adams, my note here is to start the stud, not your studs. But start the stud because he is the stud wide receiver among all of them.
What is he at 14 touchdowns now? I think
he's at 14. Yeah, he might have gotten another one. I don't know. Since we were talking, I'm not sure.
Catches him in his sleep.
Yeah. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a upside flex, especially in multi-flex, so that's where I'm leaning with him. Tunyon is a decent start against a defense that's actually giving up the 11th most points to the tight end position. So I think that you can roll with him. Be careful. He's not caught more than 5 passes this whole season in any particular game, but he is going for deeper catches or his average depth of target is a lot further down the field than most tight ends. So his value is a little bit higher. He does run a lot of routes. He doesn't block as much as a lot of guys. And those are the metrics that you're really looking at tight end. Routes run, depth of target, that sort of thing. So he's not getting a lot of catches, but at any point he could blow up for 3 touchdowns. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on here. We've got San Francisco versus Dallas. This is San Fran at Dallas. I'll take San Fran here. Nick Mullins is super flex at 2 QB. Seems like every QB out there now. Raheem Mostert is a must start if he's healthy, but he was in the concussion protocol last time I checked here. He's not been practicing at the time that we're
He's also he's nursing an ankle injury as well. He was limited in practice on Thursday, so definitely keep an eye on Friday's practice participation.
So this makes Jeff Wilson pretty much a must start in my opinion, because I don't think Mostert's going to play. If he does, he's going to be on. He's just not going to get the. He's not going to get the focus. So even if he's back, I still think you can flex Jeff Wilson. Deebo Samuel, man, Deebo, he's still out indefinitely, right? Brandon Ayuk is a start, and then George Kittle not back yet, but it's looking possible that he'll be there for your championship week in 16. But
that would
gotta get there.
Kittle thing right there, man.
Yeah, it would.
That would be.
We've talked about it before. We're like, why? Why would they do that? And we were thinking, well, there's contract incentives that these guys push to play for. I don't know what he could hit at this point, but they did just sign this guy to a really big contract. I mean, it's not Jimmy Graham money, but
it's not the market setter.
It's not market setting. $10 million a year for a 35-year-old. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's. What do you have here on Dallas?
For Dallas, Andy Dalton, another 2 QB or Superflex starts. Other than that, Ezekiel Elliott, he made our fade from yesterday's episode. Yeah. I look at him as just a low-end RB2, if that, in this matchup. He's still nursing a calf injury. I will say, if for some reason they do sit Elliott, which, I mean, there's no reason for them to play him, Tony Pollard would be a solid start if Elliott misses the game. And then when it comes to the wide receivers, Amari Cooper, in my opinion, is the only startable wide receiver, especially in this matchup. I mean, I still expect high-end wide receiver 3 numbers. It's just, 1 week CeeDee Lamb will get his, another week it's Michael Gallup will get his. It's not both of them at the same time. And when it comes to tight ends, Dalton Schultz, man, just like most of the other people in this offense, they just haven't done much since Dak went down. But if you have to start him in a tight end just because that's what you're left with, I mean, I'm not going to tell you no, but you're just going to get maybe 20, 30 yards, and you're just hoping for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's just the way it's been looking like lately.
Yeah, I mean, that offense is defunct. It is a really bad offense.
Broken.
Yeah, I see no reason why they should keep Mike McCarthy other than Jerry Jones makes bad decisions like that. Kept Jason Garrett for about 4 years longer than he should have. So I see it. Let's move on here. We got Seattle at Washington. All right, so Russell Wilson, this is actually a decent matchup. Russell Wilson, but he could have like a mediocre week, actually. This could be one of those situations where it's not good. Chris Carson, not a good matchup. You're going to start him, and you're not going to like it. This is actually a defense that's doing very, very well right now. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, look out. This defense is 30th in fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver, meaning that they allow the third least amount of points to the wide receiver in fantasy football. DK Metcalf has to overcome the matchup if he's going to show us that he's actually elite, guys. So this is one of those games where you're looking at it for next year. You're evaluating DK Metcalf for next year. And then Josh Gordon, just to note, is out until week 16. So keep your eye on that if you're looking for some sort of stupid play. I don't know. If you want to blow the season and the championship week, yeah, go for that guy. All right, what do you have on Washington football?
I don't have too much here. J.D. McKissick is a desperation, I would say, PPR running back 2. I mean, that's a super desperation. You might be in the consolation bracket, playing for pride, if that's such a thing anymore. But when it comes to wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, I mean, you're still gonna start him. I mean, the guy's a stud, doesn't matter who's a quarterback. And whenever Haskins was the quarterback at the beginning of the season, he really targeted in on Terry Scary McLaurin. So I think that should continue. And then Logan Thomas, he still gets the volume that you're looking for when it comes to a tight end. So I think he's a tight end 1. And I think Logan Thomas was dropped in our lead because someone needed to pick up another running back or something like that. I think it was your brother. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And
I might have to run to my phone, make a claim. I do have some potential spots. Yeah. All right. Chicago at Minnesota here. I'll hit Chicago. I've got actually a few starts here, but I could maybe switch it up, keep it moving here fast because these guys are mediocre. So Mitch Trubisky is a super flexor 2 QB only start, but he has been a QB1 2 of the last 3 weeks. I think he was like 5th in standard scoring last week. David Montgomery is going to be a back end running back 2 this week. There's not as much running room as there was earlier in the year. So I don't know on this defense. So Minnesota's stopping the run a little bit better. So there's not going to be as much room. It looks like a really attractive matchup, but it's not as attractive as you might think if you look at the recent history. Allen the Proof Robinson, come on, top tier opportunity. This dude's going to get it done. You know that. Anthony Miller, I'm willing to throw into a flex spot, probably multi-flex. Darnell Mooney, I actually think this is going to be a possible wide receiver 3 week out of him. I think that he and Trubisky kind of get along, and so I'm thinking this might be a situation where he could put in a wide receiver 3 week for you. It's a real big risk you might be taking to roll with that in the playoffs, though. Cole Kmet could be tight end 1/2, so I'm saying in the back end of 1 this week. But that may be the best that you're able to start. I don't know. Yeah. I think he did get picked up in our league this week, actually. I don't know if he's getting started. Yeah, you got him. Probably looking for him for next year is what you're looking at, right?
Possibly. I was the guy that had Noah Fant, so that makes more sense. Yeah. Yep. Alrighty, for Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, 2 QB or Superflex. Dalvin Cook, it's a set it and forget it. Keep it moving. When it comes to the wide receivers, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, I mean, both are wide receiver 2s, just based off the numbers that they've presented throughout the whole season, but you're just hoping for a higher pass volume. They both had 39 yards apiece last week. I mean, come on, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Irv Smith Jr., this is a great start if Rudolph remains out. So, and I think Rudolph missed Wednesday's practice. Take a look at Thursdays and Fridays, because I mean, this is a guy that will produce a tight end 1 as long as Kyle Rudolph is chilling inactive, and
it's a great matchup.
It's a great matchup, and Irv Smith Jr., he likes to be out there and holding people, so it would be a good one.
Yeah, it's on the field all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
He blocks in the run game. So here we go. Move on here. We got New England at Miami. New England, I'll take them. Cam Newton, prepare to be disappointed. You're looking at a 2 QB and super flex only play there, guys. This is not going to be a good one for you. Damian Harris, he's been solid, but he doesn't get touchdowns. So he's going to be a running back 2, the best that you can hope for, I suppose. But don't plan on any touchdowns, because if they get down there, it's always Cam. Everybody knows that, right? And that's it. That's it of the once mighty New England Patriots offense from a couple of years ago. All right, Miami.
Kind of start. I mean, the last time Patriots went against a rookie quarterback, they went against the Chargers and they just torched Justin Herbert. So that's one I may avoid. Now, this is when it gets interesting, is when we talk about the wide receivers and running backs. I start with the running backs here. DeAndre Washington, he would be an okay flex value. He'd be getting the majority of the running back carries, if not for the fact that Salvin Ahmed did put in a limited practice on Thursday. So if Salvin Ahmed is active, I think he would get the majority of the running back carries. So that kind of muddles what you would think about DeAndre Washington. I may stay away from that one. Lynn Bowden Jr., in Yahoo, they list him as a running back and wide receiver. So I think in a PPR, that would actually be a really good kind of running back play, possibly, because that would be a decent little floor when it comes to some of his receptions. He led the team last week and with receptions, but that also has to do with Devontae Parker being knocked out of the Week 14 game. But he is putting in some limited participation. So if he does play, you're going to play him in your lineup here. Mike Gesicki is another guy. This team is just banged up all the way through, man. And he dislocated his shoulder during last week's game, and he's putting in limited participation in practice. And, Gesicki's been turning it on a little bit here towards the end of the season. Finally, we've been kind of pounding the pavement here before the season started that he was going to be the guy. And he's kind of flashed here or there. So look out for him next year, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we got Jacksonville at Baltimore now. Gardner Minshew, 2 QB and Superflex. There's potential to sneak into the upper QB2 territory, I believe, here, but that's about it.
Okay.
James Robinson, he's going to get his touches, and Baltimore actually is not as good on running defense as people think. So he's also game script proof, and with Minshew, that actually becomes even more so, it seems. So I think that Robinson gets the work, gets it done, gets you the points that you need. Regardless, DJ Chark, it's a tough matchup, but with Minshew, he's going to be targeted a lot. He just focuses in on him, and I don't see anybody else really getting the targets that Chark will get there. Tyler Eifert, that's a multi-flex possibility, but that's about it. Like, I'm not really, I would probably consider somebody like Keelan Cole or something like that before him. So that's all I got on them. What do you have on Baltimore?
Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, a great rushing floor in a juicy matchup because the Jags can't really stop anything. But when it comes to running backs, J.K. Dobbins, I do feel comfortable starting him as a running back too. He's getting double-digit carries finally. At 5 of the last 6 games, he's had double-digit carries. So thankfully, they're making Mark Ingram just a guy that sits on the bench, and Justice Hill is just a special teamer. Now it's looking more towards J.K. Dobbins with Gus Edwards kind of filling in here or there. When it comes to wide receivers, I'm not going to start anybody because it looks like all of them are pretty much on the COVID list. So you're going to stay away from that. You weren't going to start anybody in there anyways. Mark Andrews, though, if those wide receivers that are out, I mean, I don't know who else they're going to go out there to catch passes. So that makes Mark Andrews a pretty good top 5 tight end play, in my opinion. He started to come around a little bit in the last game that we were watching. Of course, it was prime time, so it was a good game to watch. So, but that's all I got for Baltimore, man.
Sure. All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. This should be a really good week. And why? Because Atlanta is the worst against QBs. That's right. They are the worst against QBs. And so it's Tom Brady. He's going to blow up. He's going to do a good job. Guess what? Ronald Jones, he's out. Had to have a surgery, had to have a pin put in his pinky. But this was going to be a tough matchup to begin with. And so that means that Leonard Fournette's a flex, and Keyshawn Vaughn, I'd keep an eye on what his workload might be there. I'm kind of thinking that both of these guys are going to end up splitting a little bit more.
LaShawn McCoy, anybody? Or no, we're going to bring it back about
he's one of those guys who's just sitting on the bench going, I'm just happy to be here. Like. Yeah.
If we win this thing, I get a ring too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike Evans is third most fantasy points to wide receiver defense. So that should be a pretty good start there. Should be a big week for Evans. He's already just been kind of low lately, but with Rojo out, the offense has to move more to passing the ball to get the ball down the field, right? Chris Godwin, wide receiver 2, who is a touchdown dependent wide receiver 2. So be careful there. Yep. They're not really focusing or featuring him. You could flex somebody like Scotty Miller and end up doing better than starting Godwin. I mean, it's entirely possible, which is unfortunate. Rob Gronkowski, obviously you're starting him. This is a good matchup. So what do you have on Atlanta?
Matt Ryan is a sit unless you're in a 2 QB or super flex at this point. Yeah, I finally cut bait on good old Matty Ice. So he's just been ice all season. Julio Jones, I mean, you're going to start him if he plays, but man, this hamstring injury is just going to keep following him. I wonder what's going to be left after this season when it comes to Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley's a stud, man. The dude is a stud. Yes, he's missing practice or not missing practice. He's limited in practice because of that foot injury that's been holding him out throughout the whole season, but he's playing. Russell Gage, we talked about Russell Gage. I think he made our waiver wire episode. I mean, if Jones misses time, I actually would be okay with starting him in flex or wide receiver 3 if you really have to, if you're looking at a matchup or something like that. And then
Dude, I've been running with Gage every time Julio's out. I've been running with Gage in a weird PPR league and killing it with him.
Yeah, it's been working out. Hayden Hurst, man, I talked to you about this one.
I wouldn't start him.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So touchdown dependent right now.
Yeah,
that's all you're hoping for, and I think there's still even some better options that you might be able to pick up on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would go out and get Logan Thomas and start him before Hayden Hurst right now.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for our first episode. That's Saturday and Sunday games. We'll hit you with the rest of the Sunday and the Monday games in our next episode. So make sure that you subscribe and click the bell so that you're notified every time we upload the podcast. I will throw onto the screen our not the Thursday night game stuff, but our starter streamers and fades, as well as the waiver wire episodes, so that you have some relevant information that's useful for the week still. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you.